Welcome back to Live from Paris. It's time now for business news with William Edwards from our business desk. And William, a bit of a shock for the financial world this Friday morning from the ratings agency Moody's.
That's right. 15 of the world's biggest banks have been downgraded by Moody's by up to 3 notches on their scheme. Now, actually, most of the 15 banks, which include the largest banks in the US, Europe, and particularly France, they were dropped by 2 notches, except Credit Suisse, which was surprisingly 3 notches down. So that's really singled them out for criticism. Now, despite the criticism that the ratings agencies themselves have, of course, faced since the financial crisis, which famously they didn't see coming, their ratings do still make a real difference to the cost of borrowing. And it's expected that this move might affect how much banks have to pay when they borrow on certain markets.
OK, and presumably this has had a bad effect on the markets.
That's right, yeah. Let's take a look at how things are opening up in Europe, and it's not good, I have to say, partly due to this Moody's decision, which hasn't really helped matters.
But looking very red there.
Yeah, exactly. Across the board, they're down, and it's been a similar story in Asia as well, actually. But that's mainly due to figures out from China yesterday, showing a slowdown in industrial production there. Also similar figures from Germany showing the biggest slowdown since 2009. And disappointing figures on the US economic production. So across the board, worries of a global slowdown, really.
OK, but there is some good news, because at least all of that is bringing down oil prices.
Yeah, let's look on the bright side. We don't often get the chance to at the moment, do we, in the Business Bulletin? But this should bring down global oil prices, and indeed does seem to have had an effect already, of course, as the global economy, if it does slow down, then that will reduce demand, and that reduces the price there. You can see that Brent crude has gone below $90 a barrel for the first time, well, in fact, since December 2010. And we were talking about prices of as much as $128 just a few months ago. That was the peak hit by Brent crude there. So this should really make a difference. And now, of course, it takes a while for any price differences on the actual markets to filter through to forecourts, but motorists might be seeing some sort of lowering of prices at some point in the future.
OK, well, we'll watch out for that. But next, the IMF's Christine Lagarde has been giving her opinion on the Eurozone crisis, and she's added to the pressure on Germany for bolder action. Here's more.
A sharp warning from the IMF. Christine Lagarde said the euro was under acute stress and called on governments to take bigger steps quickly.
As we see it at the moment, the viability of the European monetary system is questioned.
The head of the IMF called for a more forceful move towards complete European monetary union, which would include issuing joint bonds. She also said the European stability funds should be used to bail out banks directly in order to break the vicious cycle of government debts.
Our preference is that this recapitalisation or financing be done without the intermediary of the sovereign and direct from either EFSF or ESM into the banks that need recapitalisation.
Lagarde's demands directly challenge the current policy advocated by Germany. Angela Merkel has become increasingly isolated in her insistence on austerity and resistance to mutualising debt. As late as Wednesday, the German Chancellor insisted there were no concrete plans towards closer monetary union, but showed a softening of her stance.
There is the possibility of buying government bonds on the secondary market in the European financial stability systems, always with conditions attached, of course. But this is purely a hypothetical argument.
Merkel is set to meet leaders of France, Spain and Italy today, ahead of a crucial EU summit next week. Spain is expected to officially ask for a loan of up to 100 billion euros to bail out banks in the coming days.
Well, of course, Christine Lagarde, the head of the IMF, was talking there at the ongoing meeting of EU finance ministers in Luxembourg. Any results from that so far?
Well, there's some news come out of that so far. Of course, Spain and Greece have been top of the agenda. Spain has said that an independent audit shows its banks need as much as 62 billion euros to keep them propped up and keep them going. Of course, Spain has already been awarded an EU bailout of 100 billion euros, so that should easily cover that sort of amount there. Meanwhile, Greece, the new government there has said it's ready to keep going with its bailout commitments. It does want to renegotiate some elements. Maybe there will be some loosening of the Greek commitments, but inspectors are arriving in Athens on Monday. We'll hear more about that then. In the meantime, Greece is going to get a 1 billion euro payout, which was delayed, of course, when those first elections last month, they were inconclusive, and it is now going to be released now that they have a new pro-bailout government.
OK, well, moving on now. Go west, young man, is what they used to say. And some savvy French entrepreneurs are doing just that. They're in California on a tech tour, trying to get their share of the dot-com gold rush with help from the French government.
Frenchman Maxime Berthelot has 5 minutes to sell his big idea. And he has to do so in English. He's one of 30 young French entrepreneurs on a crash course in San Francisco, learning the art of pitch.
3D printing is the third industrial revolution.
They've been sponsored by Ubi France, a part of the French trade office. The goal, to push France's tech talent into the spotlight.
It's difficult as a foreign business, French or otherwise, when you come to Silicon Valley. Nobody knows you. You might not have the resources your American counterparts do. So a little boost is nice. We're that little boost.
That includes helping organizing meetings with clients, partners and investors. Maxime gets enough training to be able to make his presentation. His goal for his company, Neo, is to raise cash he would be far less likely to get back home.
You hear incredible stories, people being approached by a venture capitalist who invests $3 million in the company, and it takes off.
Some tour participants stay on in California, hoping to become Silicon Valley legends. Last year, 5 out of 13 startups that took part opened shop in the United States.
Nicholas Rushworth there. Well, we're going to move to the UK now because one of the country's favourite comedians there has found himself in the centre of a rather unfunny tax controversy.
Yeah, involving the Prime Minister as well. It's gone right to the top. Jimmy Carr is the guy's name, famous on TV in the UK as a comedian.
And controversial occasionally, but for his comedy.
Mainly for his comedy,
exactly.
for his jokes, rather than his tax affairs. Now, it was revealed recently that he's managed to pay around 1% tax on millions of pounds by using offshore accounts in Jersey. Now, the Prime Minister got involved. He said it was morally wrong. Jimmy Carr said he won't be doing it again. But the thing is, it was completely legal. And as a Conservative, of course, David Cameron, his party generally tends to be pretty relaxed about people making huge amounts of money. And as long as they stick to legal rules, obviously, if they reduce their tax by legal means, then that's seen as absolutely fine. Now, of course, David Cameron's comments about tax evasion, saying it's morally wrong, has caused a number of awkward questions within his own party, even about his late father's tax arrangements, in fact. And I don't think the rest of his MPs of his party will be thanking him a lot, because a lot of people are saying, well, does this mean it's open season for journalists now that the Prime Minister has criticised these sort of tax arrangements, for journalists to go snooping around MPs and see what they get up to with their tax affairs?
OK, well, I'm sure that one will run and run. Thank you very much indeed, William Edwards, for that look at today's business news. And that's it from us for now. But do stay tuned. Cyril Vanier will be here after the weather with more news headlines. Bye for now. Are we going to do that?